Hey guys, it's Rachel with Be Healed Dog Training, and today I'm going to show you how to apply remote collar training to teaching the dog to down. This is Emery. Emery is already very familiar with the command down, so we are going to be just layering the remote collar on top of her leash work. And that's really how we apply the remote collar training to all of our training, is we start with guided leash work, we do all of our initial stuff that way, and then we layer this over top of it. So she's already learned down, and the way that looks is she's got her prong collar on. I can take leash pressure, I can say down, apply that leash pressure, and she goes into a down. And she's actually at the point where a lot of times she's doing it without the leash pressure. She's pretty familiar with this. But for demonstration purposes, I want you to see what this looks like. Good, break. When you're working with your prong collar and your e-collar, you want to make sure, I'm going to bring this up and show you how it looks. You want to make sure that you have your prong collar up highest, the e-collar is in the middle, and then this is just her flat buckle collar, which we connect to the prong collar, especially if you're ever going to be working in an uncontained area where if the dog were to get loose, it would be a problem. That's what the flat buckle collar is for. It's important to remember when you're doing e-collar work that the e-collar does not provide any sort of directional guidance to the dog. All it is it's either pressure or no pressure depending on when you're pushing that button. So if you're teaching the dog to down, you want to use a leash to help guide the dog in that direction, and you're going to use that in conjunction with your remote initially. So we're doing this all at the working level, and the working level is the lowest level that the dog feels. I have other videos that show how to find the working level for the dog. So Emery, we're starting off on a level 5. It's different for every dog, so don't get stuck on numbers here. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to give the command down, and the moment that I start to say the word down, I'm going to hold down on the button continuously. And what that's doing is that's providing a continuous stim to the dog until they complete the command. The idea behind this is using pressure to communicate the training to the dog. So when the stim is being applied, and at the working level, that's just a sensation. There's no pain, there's no discomfort. To me, on my working level, which is about an 8, that feels like a tingle. Dogs usually work at levels lower than what we can even feel. So again, there's no pain or discomfort with this. Sit up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say down. The moment I say it, I'm going to hold this button down. It's going to give a continuous stim, and then the second she completes the down and she's all the way on the ground, I'm going to say yes and also let go of the button at the same time. Try to stand close enough where you can see when I'm hitting the button, it'll light up red here so that you can see exactly when I'm pressing it. Leash here, and I'm going to use my foot. It's hard to see what I'm doing. Use my foot as a pulley system to put leash pressure, so you might not be able to see that, but that's how I'm applying my leash pressure here to help guide her into a down. So I'm going to say down, a little bit of leash guidance, yes. Okay, that's how that looks with your remote. I'm going to do lots of repetition with that. Break. You can also use food reward on top of that, so good. I'm going to go down. Good. Yes. As soon as I say yes, she'll get her food reward here. And again, this is all very early stages with this. This is actually literally the first time I've used the remote collar with her. She's had a remote collar on once or twice in the past. It's been used just a tiny bit, but she's not very familiar with it. She's not really conditioned to it yet. All I've done up to this point is put the collar on. I found her working level. I made a video out of that with her as well. And that was literally the first time I've ever used this on her. So again, this is nothing dramatic. It's not a big deal. Break. Good girl. It's just a sensation that they adjust to, and then once you condition them to it, they understand exactly what it means and how it works. Sit. Yes. So again, I'm going to give the command and press and hold the button. Emery, down. And you can actually see there, I'm not sure how clear it was from that distance because it was pretty subtle cues that I was seeing. That time I didn't provide any leash guidance, I just said down. When she felt the sensation, she kind of looked around a little bit unsure. That's totally normal when you're first introducing this. Initially they're kind of going, what is that feeling and how do I turn it off? That's another reason that even if the dog is familiar with the command, you want to go ahead and put a leash on them so that you can guide them through it, because sometimes this will distract them a little bit. They're not really sure what it means at first. So when you first start doing this, have the leash on the dog. But what she did there is she gave a look. As she started to go down, she kind of looked around like, I'm not really sure what this is, but then she completed the down. If she had gotten up and walked over that way, which I thought she was about to do, I'd use my leash to guide her back. So if you have something like that come up with your own dog in training, just remember it's going to take them some repetition before they completely understand the collar. Right? Good girl. Sit. Yes, good. Down. Collar on. A little bit of leash guidance. Yes. Keep in mind too that these collars, this is a mini educator by eCollar Technologies. These will time out after 10 seconds. So if you do have to hold it longer than 10 seconds, be ready to let go and press that button again really quickly so that you're not going for several seconds without a stem without realizing it. So just keep track of that. Good. Break. Good job. Come a little closer here and show you one more time. Sit. Good. Down. Good. Yes, good girl. Another point I want to go ahead and make too, if you put your dog into a down and they break that command before you release them, immediately push that button and hold it. So think about it kind of like you're playing warmer, colder. If they're doing the correct thing, then there's no stim at all. But the second they start to do the wrong thing, bam, you're going to push that button on to tell them, nope, that's not right. Colder, colder, you're getting colder. So again, when you give the dog the command, it's down, hold that button. The moment they hit the floor, release the button. If they stand up before you release them, immediately hit the button, and you're also going to say no. You can repeat the command. Typically, I don't repeat commands very often unless I think the dog has gotten confused, forgotten what we're doing, didn't hear me the first time. But if they break command, typically it's just going to be a single no, immediately push that button down. Then if I need my leash pressure to put them back into a down, I will. And the second they're on the ground again, release. Do that until I've actually released them from the command. So at this, all I'm going to do is lots of repetition like this. Do this over and over so that she starts to understand what it means. The collar will have a meaning to her that she can apply to this as well as all the other commands that we do. So we use this exact same kind of training when we teach place, sit, down, recall. And then what's eventually going to happen once she really truly knows and understands the command, then we move up to a corrective level on the collar. That's not going to be for, it depends on the dog. It could be several days, it could be a week or two, usually not much longer than that, depending on how much time you have to train the dog. I'm talking here when they're with us for a board and train. Usually within about a week, they're moving to a corrective level, if not sooner. Once the dog really knows what it is that you're saying, you can correct them for not doing the command or for doing the command and then breaking before being released. All a corrective level is moving up on the collar, turning your levels up higher to whatever is going to be meaningful to the dog, and then you're using that at in a momentary setting. So for example, if she gets really good with the down and I tell her to down and she looks at me and decides, I don't want to down, then this is going to be maybe 10 levels higher than it is now, maybe more, maybe less, just depending on what she tells me. And if she doesn't down when I say, I'm going to say no and give a brief tap on the button. When you move to a corrective level, you're not holding that button down at a high level. You're giving just a momentary tap that says, that's not allowed, or I have different expectations of you. So that'll be the next step, but it's not going to happen right here, right now. Just want to show you how we're starting with teaching down, how we're working on the working level. I do have some other videos that show using a corrective level on the collar, so if you check out the remote collar training playlist on my YouTube channel, you can see examples of how you give corrections with an e-collar. But anyway, it's pretty simple. This is very similar to how you apply it to all of your other commands. Enjoy your mini educators. This is an awesome, awesome training device. The best thing about this, my baby is downstairs with my husband making noise, so if you're hearing that, don't worry about it. And I completely forgot what I was saying. She totally distracted me. This gives immediate information to the dog. That's what I was saying. So the second I say down, it's pressure on. The second she completes that command, it's pressure off. This communicates instant information at the tap of a button, and that's what makes it so effective and helps them to understand the training so quickly.